Hi friends, it's Miss Karen. Today we're going to do a read aloud, and the name of the book is The Biggest Apple Ever. And it is written by Stephen Kroll and illustrated by Jenny Bassett. So I will show you the pictures. Once there were two mice who fell in love with the same apple pie, but you had to be there to see how it happened. On opening day at Mouseville School, the principal, Mr. Mouser, made an announcement. We will be learning about apples this fall, and to get things started, we will have a contest. Whoever brings in the biggest apple to his teacher will win a special prize. So there's Mr. Mouser making the announcement. The judging will take place on Friday. Good luck to everyone. I have an apple tree in my backyard, said Penelope. I bet it has really big apples. There's an apple tree across from my house, said James, and I'm going to climb it as soon as I get home. I don't have any apple trees, said Clayton, the house mouse, but I'm going to find Mrs. Mousley the biggest apple ever. No, you're not, said his friend Desmond, the field mouse. I am. Oh, yeah, said Clayton. Yeah, said Desmond. All the way home on the school bus, Clayton and Desmond talked about the contest. So they're on their way home. Maybe I could grow an apple tree with really big apples, said Clayton. It takes too long, said Desmond. I heard Mrs. Mousley say it takes 6 years. I'll think of something, said Clayton. And so will I, said Desmond. They really want to win and bring in the biggest apple. When Clayton got off the bus, he sneaked back into town to see what Penelope and James were up to. Penelope had come down from her tree, and she was carrying 2 tiny apples. James was still up in the tree across the street. He was picking very small apples. Clayton knew he'd seen bigger ones at the market. When Desmond came by a little later, he realized the same thing. The next day at school, Penelope and James brought in their tiny apples. No one else had brought anything in. Mrs. Mousley cleared her throat. Class, we have a lot of work to start the year, but because we're learning about apples and having an apple contest, we will go to Barnaby's orchard this afternoon. Everyone got so excited. I'm going to find the winning apple, said Clayton. I'm going to find the winning apple, said Desmond. At the orchard, Mrs. Mousley pointed out the different kinds of apples. Then everyone disappeared into the trees looking for a winner. Clayton walked down one row, craning his neck. Desmond walked down another row, craning his neck. Then Clayton saw what he thought was a really big apple, and it was a little too high to reach, but he stretched for it. At that same moment, Desmond saw the very same apple on the very same branch, and he stretched for it too, and they bumped heads and they both fell down. I think we should bring this apple in together, said Clayton. No one said we couldn't, said Desmond. So they got an apple. But when they got back to the school bus, James had an apple that was even bigger. The apple was so big, he could barely carry it. There it is. It's a big apple. Clayton and Desmond looked at each other. What would they do now? So they got on the bus with their little apples. That night at dinner, Clayton explained the problem to his dad. Said Dad. Apples don't come in too many sizes. Do you think you'll find a bigger one? I don't know, said Clayton. Then maybe James will win the prize this time. It's okay if he does. Over at Desmond's house, Uncle Vernon said exactly the same thing. But Clayton and Desmond were still determined. The next afternoon, they met at Barnaby's orchard and they picked 2 huge baskets of apples. But nothing they found was bigger than the apple James had picked. You know, Clayton said, I think Dad was right. This time, James gets to win. But we've got all these apples. Why don't we bake a big apple pie? Who likes apple pie? Raise your hand. I do. Good. Desmond laughed. Great. Let's bake the biggest apple pie ever. And we'll make it for our class. Clayton nodded. And I think I know where to find a pie pan that's big enough. Where do you think they're going to go to find a pan? A big pan. Think about it. The following afternoon, Desmond arrived at Clayton's house with Uncle Vernon. Everything's packed up and ready, Clayton said. It's all in Dad's truck. But where are we going? Desmond asked. You'll find out in a minute, said Clayton. And there they are. They're about to get onto the truck. Look at all those apples. Did you decide where they're going to find the big pan? Well, that's a good guess. Let's see. Dad drove with Clayton and Desmond beside him in the front seat. Uncle Vernon stayed in the back with the apples and the other ingredients for the giant pie. As they came around the corner, Desmond gasped, Tony's Pizza! Of course, said Clayton. What could be better than a giant pizza pan? So there's Tony's Pizza. Mr. Tony greeted them at the door. Welcome, welcome. We're ready to begin. And so they got to work, making the dough for the crust, kneading it, rolling out half into a big circle, and spreading it over the deep dish pan. Then everyone peeled and sliced the apples, mixed together the sugar and spices, and spread the rest of the dough on top. Wow, said Clayton and Desmond when they were finished. Wow, wow, wow. An hour, said Mr. Tony. Give me an hour. The giant pan just fit into his huge oven. So there's the big, huge apple pie. The next day was Friday. Who would have had the largest apple? James, of course, and Mr. Mouser handed him the prize, a cheddar cheese apple. Mrs. Mousley looked surprised. Clayton, Desmond, nothing from you? The 2 of them grinned, and at the same moment, the classroom door flew open, and in came Clayton's dad, Uncle Vernon, and Mr. Tony, struggling to carry the giant pie by themselves. There it is. Look at how big that apple pie is. Yummy. How wonderful, said Mrs. Mousley. That's the biggest apple pie I've ever seen. We made it for the whole class, said Clayton. All of us together, said Desmond. They shared a high five, and everyone in the class had a very big slice. Look, they're all eating the pie. Yummy. I could go for some apple pie. I hope you enjoyed the story, friends. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.